The danger zone widens as the world witnesses President Barack Obama's kumbaya approach to foreign policy collapse, putting Americans in even more jeopardy. Coalition airstrikes are having no effect on the flow of an unprecedented number of foreign fighters from around the globe. Fighters from Russia, the UK, and France looking to join terrorists in Syria. And Gitmo detainees released by the U.S. only to return to the battlefield to fight yet another fight. So why is this happening? When he was elected, the president made a conscious decision to embrace those different from Americans, to not force the American will on others, and to portray America as the world's ally. It all started with his apology for being an American speech in Cairo in 2009. He believed that by appeasing different ideologies and religions, the world would be a better place. Yet a new UN report says that foreign fighters are joining terrorist groups on an unprecedented scale. 15,000 to Iraq and Syria alone. Fighters from more than 80 countries form a core that will spread the terror threat for years to come. And as a direct result, domestic terrorism will rise when those fighters return to their home countries. The sweeping gains that are being made by ISIS in Syria and Iraq alone, and videos of the beheadings of Westerners, has both strengthened the recruitment by the Islamic State and rightfully alarmed us in the West. And as many as 30 former Gitmo detainees have joined the Islamic State inside Syria alone. And of the 620 total released Gitmo detainees, 180 are suspected of returning to the battlefield. Some of them released based on taking up yoga and reading the Dalai Lama's books. This administration is so clueless that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs says the Gitmo recidivism rate is but a small fraction of detainees they decide to release. Seriously? These enemy combatants are ideologically and religiously committed to an evil cause, and therein lies the problem. This president doesn't know the difference between good and evil. Or maybe he does. Mr. President, why would you release 5 high-level Taliban fighters in a swap for an alleged deserter in what could be the first time in U.S. history that senior commanders of an active enemy were released during wartime? Why are these enemy combatants not being tried in a military tribunal instead of saying, oh, whatever, and letting them go? They are not prisoners of war. They are enemy combatants who can be held indefinitely and should have been tried for their crimes. You don't have to release them. And I don't care whether you try them at Gitmo in a military tribunal or in a federal court. And why would you announce military withdrawal dates to the enemy, putting our soldiers at risk? And why would you, instead of supporting our military struggling to defend us, cut $1 trillion from defense spending? In your position of moral superiority, you open the borders and you change the demographics of this great nation. Your liberal delusions are putting Americans in danger. And instead of reversing course, you dig your heels in deeper. And that's your biggest weakness. Refusing to admit mistakes and refusing to change. Mr. President, you wanted to be the good guy. Guess what? It didn't work. And I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt and say that your ivory tower perch prevented you from seeing the difference between good and evil. But then again, other presidents saw the difference. FDR, Ronald Reagan.
I urge you to beware the temptation of pride, the temptation of blithely declaring yourselves above it all and label both sides equally at fault, to ignore the facts of history and the aggressive impulses of an evil empire.
And George Bush saw it.
States like these and their terrorist allies constitute an axis of evil, arming to threaten the peace of the world.
Let me make it simple for you. We are good, they are bad. There is good and there is evil. Your job, Mr. President, is to fight evil. Your job is to protect the American people. And if you want to engage in kumbaya politics, do it on your own time.